Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel. I'm the founder of Startup CPG. If you're checking this out on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe. We've got lots of good content like this. And I'm really excited to have the team from Tatari today, as well as PhoLicious. For me, when I ran a brand, it was always interesting the idea of getting to have ads on TV. Wait, isn't that a big thing that only Anheuser-Busch gets to do? And actually, no, anyone who watches Hulu stuff, streaming stuff, like, wow, it's so distributed. You have so many options these days to target people, especially retargeting. One of the things I've been hearing from people about, wow, you actually have the ability for people who checked out your site and then hit them with an ad. And they're like, whoa, I guess this is a huge brand. They're serving up ads on TV. So I think it's a pretty cool topic. So we're going to hear from the team from Tatari today on how all of that stuff works. And we've also got Joseph here from PhoLicious, who's going to talk a little bit about a case study for them. So with that, I am going to pass it over to Toni.
Welcome to the webinar. If you are an emerging CPG brand or you have an interest in learning how to grow your brand with TV advertising, you're in the right place. So I'm excited. Today, you're going to hear a really incredibly inspiring story from Joseph Trousdale, one of the co-founders of PhoLicious, and how they got ahead of their Shark Tank episode, scaled into Walmart, and then also drove sales using social media and TV. Then after that, we'll get into how you might incorporate TV advertising into your growth playbook. And it doesn't require a huge budget. Just want to reiterate what Daniel said, that you think, oh, TV, it's only for these really gigantic brands. It's not accessible to me. But you'll see it's more accessible than you may think. And then at the end, if we have time, we will wrap up with Q&A. All right, some quick intros. I'm Toni Poe. I'm the director of product at Tatari. And Tatari is the ad platform that Joseph used for his TV campaign. And since we're here to talk about TV, my favorite show right now is Slow Horses on Apple TV.
So
And then over to you, Joseph.
Yeah, I'm Joseph Trousdale, co-founder and COO of PhoLicious. I have to say my favorite show is Shark Tank. Ever since we knew we were going to be on and pitch, I binged it. All the seasons, I needed to learn as much as I could about what worked for people, what didn't work for people. So it became one of my favorite shows. It was already a great show, but it became one of my favorite now that it hits a little more close to
what do you learn? What are your top tips for brands if they're like, I'm doing the pitch? What are you going to hit them with?
Know your numbers. If you fumble, keep going. Don't show weakness. It's blood in the water. But you don't have to be this perfect brand. Everybody makes mistakes. That's why we're there. They're people too. Treat them with respect. They'll respect you. It's a business. They're not here to completely bite your head off. They're there to make money.
All right. It's all very consistent with the theme of sharks.
PhoLicious. Who are we? We make premium instant pho and ramen bowls. We have some new products coming out this spring that we'll be announcing later. During the pandemic, we came up with it because my wife is Vietnamese and there were no authentic options on the market. During the pandemic, we couldn't go to the restaurants. They were shut down. My wife was an ER nurse. I was a hotel GM. We didn't have time to make it scratch. So we went out and tried to get instant options. There was nothing that really satisfied it. So my wife and her mom, who we call Mama Two, made it for us. It turned out to be so good that we wanted to share it with the world. We launched on Amazon in 2021. It quickly started picking up. We ended up quitting our jobs at the end of 2021, even though we weren't making enough to do that. We just said, let's go all in. We quit our jobs, sold our house, moved into a camper, and went all in. We used the money from our house to invest. So we self-invested as well as maxing out our credit cards. I don't recommend that business advice, but that's what we did. We paid them off and then we maxed them out again. Growth. 2022, we won the QVC Golden Ticket. We were on QVC. We won the Walmart Open Call. We received a deal with Walmart and Sam's Club, and we won the HEB Quest for Texas Best Competition. So 2022, we exploded. We got in 50 Sam's Clubs, 250 Walmart started out, and 400 HEBs throughout Texas. And so we quickly grew. We ended up picking up the camper and moving to Houston to a large facility, and we just started growing. With that growth, we applied to Shark Tank. We applied 3 years in a row before we were finally accepted and said, hey, it's your time. You guys are going to come and pitch. It was crazy. We filmed in 2024. We aired in 2025. We secured a deal with Kevin O'Leary on air. Kevin and Daniel were actually fighting back and forth, fighting over us. We ended up going with Kevin, and it's been a great experience so far. And one of Kevin's first questions were, what are you doing for advertising? How are you driving business? And how much are you spending? We said the standard social media, we're spending roughly $3,000 a week on social media. He asked how it was going. We thought it was going great, but once he looked at the numbers, you really need to start looking into TV advertising. What you said earlier was my first reaction. We are not a big brand. We can't afford TV. And he's, no, talk to Tatari, talk to Wonder Ads, and start off small and work your way up. That's what we did. We were introduced to Wonder Ads by Tatari. And from there, we were set up with a retargeting campaign is what we focused on, retargeting through streaming, which they'll go into later. We quickly got results, and we'll go into that later throughout the presentation. It's been a great experience so far. I know you guys are probably wondering what's the difference. I'll let Toni come in here and talk about that.
I want to know if you're still in that camper, which looks amazing, actually.
Yeah, we started off with a little bitty one. And after, because we already had that for outings and things like that. But after about 3 weeks in that camper, we're like, absolutely not. We sold our house. We need something at least a little. So we went and bought that camper. And we were in it for 2 years. In 2024, right before we went to film on Shark Tank, we closed on a house in Houston. So we're back in a house now.
Okay, so I can take the camper to Burning Man. Okay, great. Toni.
Joseph, when you started to think about TV, did you know what TV meant given all the different ways that people consume TV?
Absolutely.
Or was it a little bit confusing?
Absolutely not. I thought we were going to have to spend $20,000 and go onto these bid networks. And I'm like, how are we going to get a return on investment? The initial conversation with Tatari really put a lot of that to ease. They were saying, this is what we recommend starting off. And I was like, okay, this is doable. This is pretty much a little bit more than what we're spending now. Part owner. He's not going to direct us to something that's going to cost us more money, not fail and not grow, because he wants to make money. So we said, we'll trust in the process, and I'm glad we did.
Yeah. So I think what would be helpful is for us to walk through the different ways of how people consume TV, because a certain number of years ago, TV just meant one thing, right? Everybody was sitting in front of a television and everyone was watching the same thing at the same time. So I thought it would be helpful to explain, using Shark Tank as an example, the different ways that people are consuming TV today. Some people watch Shark Tank through cable or broadcast TV, and this is what we call linear. Everyone watching at the same time, everyone seeing ads at the same time. And you might even watch Shark Tank through YouTube Live TV, which is actually just linear TV feeds through YouTube. So, Joseph, how do you watch Shark Tank?
It started off with, as we're traveling more, we relax in the hotel, and then we turned on the CNBC, and it's just Shark Tank after Shark Tank.
Right.
And so we did a lot of linear to start. And then once we got into, hey, we could be on Shark Tank now, and we needed to start watching more of it, we went to streaming, and we could actually watch in order. So it was a combination of all of them through YouTube clips, linear, and then streaming services. So we pretty much used all three.
What Joseph is describing is, with streaming, you can watch Shark Tank as video on demand. You can watch them all in sequence on Hulu or Disney Plus. And so that's what we call streaming, different than linear. Another way that people consume TV content is something that we call online video. You might hear called OLV, but online video. A great example of this is CNN.com, where you're watching live and on-demand video content on CNN's website or app. So TV isn't just one thing. There's linear, streaming, and online video. If you take a look at how people are watching, the data bears this out. You may have heard of Nielsen. Nielsen monitors data, and they show roughly a 50-50 split between linear and streaming viewership. The decision on what approach you take on where to show ads depends on what you want to achieve, who you're trying to get in front of, and what your budget is. Joseph, I was hoping that you could share what your approach was. You started with streaming first, right?
Yeah, we started with leading up into Shark Tank, and luckily Kevin directed us to Tatari before we aired on Shark Tank. We were able to get the pixel from Tatari onto our website, tracks visitors that come on, buy and don't buy, so we could then launch a retargeting ad later, so get all of that traffic coming to our website, see who purchased, who didn't purchase, everybody who looked around and didn't purchase, then through their streaming apps that they watched, they would get a TV ad from us. We went out for 30 seconds. as a retargeting. So people who have seen us before but never actually purchased. And that's how we started out. And man, our budget was like $500 a week. So it was a small amount that we started right off the bat just to see how it was going into Shark Tank. And we quickly said, open up the floodgates, because we were a little bit different. We didn't really care about our online sales because we were going through an expansion with Walmart. We had gotten into Walmart and we wanted to show Walmart, look, this is what we can sell. So we directed everybody to our where to buy page on our website. We had Walmart as the forefront. Then we also had our other retailers. It was a success for us because we were able to track who clicked on what exit link, whether they clicked on go to Walmart or go to Amazon or go to HEB or where they went. So I was able to give all that data to the different retailers. They shot up for Shark Tank. Afterwards, our Walmart went nuts, our HEB went nuts. We were able to go to Walmart and say, this is the data of how many people are clicking from our website to yours based on TV advertisement, and we're going to blow it up even more. That was from people who came to our website. They didn't buy anything when they first came, and then boom, maybe the next day they saw an ad on TV. They're like, I was just on this website yesterday. I didn't buy, but now they're advertising on TV. And those people would come back and then we would convert them to sales. So that's how we started with the TV ads.
One of the things that is very special and unique about TV is you can tell a story through your creative. You have 15 to 30 seconds of undivided attention where you can convey your message in your own brand voice. I've watched many ads for PhoLicious, and what came across to me, in addition to the quality and authenticity of your product, was the genuine connection to family through a recipe that's been passed down. And that's this emotion that can be evoked that you wouldn't necessarily get through other channels. The other piece is TV is prestigious. Daniel mentioned, like, oh, I can't get on TV unless I am spending tons of money. It's more accessible than you think. And then when you're on TV, you can differentiate yourselves from your competitors who aren't running on TV. You get to be associated with other well-known brands that are airing their commercials. Finally, people trust ads on TV 4 times more than other social platforms. So that is a big boost in terms of your advertising spend.
I'd like to touch on that last point of people touching TV more. My wife made that's why she's CEO. She made a very good point about social media ads. People are getting social media fatigue when it comes to ads. I know, for example, Facebook, I'm scrolling through, I want to see some of my friends' content. 5 or 6 things in a row are ads. And I'm like, man, you get fatigued with that. On top of that, I tend to not trust the ads that come up on Facebook. Is this a scam? Am I actually going to get the product? So then I'll end up typing that into Amazon and trying to find that company on Amazon and buy that product there. I get that more and more on Facebook as more scams are coming out. Facebook has done a better job of keeping that under wrap or in check, but it still happens. So I think there's a lot less trust on social media, like you said. And TV, I can't remember the last ad I saw on TV that was like, oh, I wonder if this company's a scam or not. You don't get that on TV like you do on social media posts.
Yeah, I'd like to touch on that. So we know that you're likely spending on social media and search ads, and those have their own unique values and challenges. Just like Joseph said, you might find that Facebook ads are crowded. They require a lot of refreshing. Something you may not realize is TV advertising is a really great way to complement your existing ad spend. And a great way to demonstrate this is in this graph. I'll explain it to you here. So we track TV ad performance, and we've run many analyses with our customers that show that TV has what's called a halo effect. So it has this beneficial effect on all of the performance of your other ad spend and other channels. Halo effect means when you run TV ads, it lifts all boats in the water for the performance of all of your other channel spend. What this diagram or this graph shows is we found that paid mobile ad campaigns were more successful and had higher buyer conversion when paired with TV ads. Buyer conversion rates were 2 to 8 times higher than without TV ads. So what this means is this brand impact and this halo effect are inherent when you run TV. And so it's complementary to your other channels. Maybe we can go back to this slide here, Joseph. You can talk about what you saw on the results of your campaign.
Yeah, so on both social media and Walmart.com, we also run ads through the Walmart ad platform for Walmart.com. And once we started seeing TV ads, we started seeing not only the high ROAS of 8 or more on streaming services converting to other platforms, but on our data from our Walmart ads, our ROAS went from an average of 4.5 up to 7.9. Anybody who's taken a marketing class, it's the marketing 101. Get it in front of people most you can, because every time they see it, the more they see it, the more comfortable they are going to be with actually purchasing it. And that's where that trust comes. They've seen it on TV. Now they've seen it on social media. They put the two and two together. Or now they've seen it when they go to Walmart.com, they see another ad and they're like, okay, there's something to this. Now, when we switch to the linear side, which I know we're going to get into later, we're seeing an even higher ROAS because we're hitting them from all angles.
All right, let's talk about linear. This diagram is called the marketing funnel, and it's a visualization of how a customer travels from initial awareness of your product at the top of the funnel to the final stage, which is sales or purchase at the bottom of the funnel. The reason it looks like a funnel is because it's broader at the top. You need to reach a lot of people in the awareness stage. And it's expected as they're evaluating whether or not they're going to buy your product, you lose people along the way. So the funnel is getting narrower and narrower. So Joseph talked about using this tactic for retargeting earlier to get potential customers who had already gone to his websites to buy at that last sales stage at the bottom of the funnel. TV is versatile. It's known for its ability to reach a lot of people. You watch the Super Bowl, it reaches a ton of people. So Joseph, after you ran your TV campaign, how did you think about achieving broader awareness of your brand? This is what you were talking about before with linear.
The whole reason why we decided to explore linear from the retargeting is because Walmart said things are going so well. 3,000 stores with a half end cap is a one-time buy. You've proven that you can do well in Texas and surrounding areas. How can you do on a national level? And what better way to do that than 3,000 stores nationwide and a half end cap? And we said, let's go. It's a one-time purchase. And depending on how that goes, see how many stores they add to us on a replenishment base. We got back with Tatari and said, we need to do more brand awareness. We need to go national and drive home that PhoLicious can be found in Walmart. That's when we started talking linear and making that jump to $5,000 a week spend with the linear side. And I was really nervous at first to go from $500 a week to $5,000 a week. But in the grand scheme of things, we haven't gotten to where we're at without taking risks already. So what's another risk? And if worst case, it doesn't work for a couple of weeks, we haven't gone out of business. We've lost some money, but at least we can go back to what we know what's working. So we made the jump, and you can literally see on the graph on the Walmart website, we're having slight growth. TV ads, you have a spike, a huge spike. That's first Saturday, Sunday. We don't air Monday, Tuesdays, but it comes back down, but not as much as before. So we retain stuff on Walmart.com, and now it's growing again. Next Saturday, Sunday, when it airs again, another spike. We went from 150,000 impressions on Walmart.com to 600,000 impressions per day with our ad. When I did large spends on social media before to get that same 500,000 impressions, our sales impressions were here. TV ads to get that same 600,000 impressions, my sales caught up. So I had more sales per impression with TV ads than dumping all that money into social media. I think that comes with the trust. It comes with people actually watching the ads instead of just seeing 2 or 3 seconds and scrolling by. They get the whole experience of it. We experimented with a Kevin O'Leary ad on Fox News that did really well, but I'm not going to play a Kevin O'Leary ad on CMR. So we had different ads for different genres of TV because different people watch different stations. We had family-oriented ones for certain stations. And then we had a Bigfoot one that we made with AI for $50 and about 4 hours of my time. That was Bigfoot coming out of hiding because he heard PhoLicious is now sold at Walmart. That one ended up being one of our top performing ads on TV. And then after that, we ran it on social media. And because it was doing so well, it fed off of that and it did really well on social media. TV, and because of how well it's done and the results we've seen with a 10x return on our investment that we can actually see on Walmart.com and Walmart in-store sales on a graph, that's just 50,000 that we can see on a $5,000 ad. We don't see the other correlations of where they buy it in other retailers.
Joseph, how hard is it to create great. Like, I'm just getting hungrier and hungrier because I'm just watching this video. Here, it looks amazing. How hard is it to create content that good? Because a lot of us are used to iPhone content, whatever, Instagram, but this is like really nicely done.
Like the one that's playing in the background now, we used a company that we met through a trade show. Walmart said, you need to go talk to this company. They made 10 videos for us between 15 and 30 seconds of different creatives that we can use. And it was like $3,000. So it was
Damn.
dirt cheap for the quality of content that they created. It was very cost effective. I have 15 seconds, I have 10 seconds, I have 30 seconds. And they did it for our pho and for our ramen.
Is that?
I can look it up in a minute and send it to you.
Everyone's probably ready to write that down.
But I'll send it to you later.
That's actually really good to know because I'm like, oh, geez, you're gonna have to pay like so much money to get that. But that's crazy. Like,
no, and then the AI
3K.
ad that we did, which is our Bigfoot Chronicles, which you can see on our website, cost me like $50 in AI credits. I created and then I put it into Adobe Premiere Pro myself and put it all together and voiceover and stuff like that. Did really well for a $50 ad in about 4 or 5 hours of my time.
That's sweet.
And because of our success with those kind of ads, with linear, and it did so well, Walmart within 3 weeks of the feature said, okay, we're moving you to 1,900 locations as an everyday item instead of 500 because it did so well. And next year they want to move us to more. Walmart's not dumb. They're not going to put it in 1,900 stores unless it performs. The TV really helped us get that performance. And because of that, we're actually doubling our budget to $10,000 a week starting next week, which is scary because I was like, I've never spent that much, but we're like 5,000 worked. Let's give it 2 weeks and see how the 10,000 a week works.
When we've spoken with our clients, we've heard retailers want to know that you have a plan to move things off their shelves. And so them seeing you doing TV is a good thing for the relationship. And so I remember asking you, did Walmart know that you were running these ads and how did that impact things?
Yeah, so we told them, hey, because you're investing in us and giving us this opportunity for 3,000 locations, we've decided to up our TV ad. When we told them about the streaming with social media, they weren't as excited. But when we said we're going to start investing $5,000 a week and our ads are Walmart specific, targeting Walmart, they were extremely happy. Their belief in us of putting us in 3,000 locations by spending on ads to make sure it moves through. Because at the end of the day, if it flops, it comes back on your merchant and your merchant's not going to be happy. Our bosses are not going to be happy, or their bosses are not going to be happy if it fails. So they're putting a risk on new companies, giving them that many locations.
So what does this mean for people on this call and how you might use Tatari's platform? Tatari has worked with companies of all sizes, including those just starting out and then exploring new marketing channels like TV. And we've enabled them to find success with no prior experience. There are a few ways that you can work with us. The first is running your own TV campaign in-house. If you run a campaign on Facebook, you can run a TV campaign on Tatari's self-serve platform. If you want help with strategy and execution, if you want to move and up and spend more in linear, we also have managed services. We have these two options. It's typical to start in-house, start off with something that seems more approachable with retargeting, and then expand as you see fit. We went through this kind of lightweight playbook. Retargeting, you can start with retargeting. This approach is reaching people who have already visited your website. They are highly qualified because they've already come to your website. They've already expressed some interest. And then as you scale, you can take advantage of other options, whether that's expanding up the funnel by running a prospecting campaign on your own as self-service or engaging with managed services. The easiest way to start is with retargeting. I can't remember what you said, Joseph, about how much you started with per day, but we've seen success with as little as $50 a day. You don't need a huge upfront commitment in dollars, but you do need the right tech and data. Let's walk through that. What you need to do is make sure that you have enough traffic for retargeting, because we're building a pool of people that you want to get in front of on TV. We need to make sure that you have enough previous visitors. We recommend 10,000 unique visitors. If you're lower than that, it makes it more difficult to find them wherever they're watching TV. You do need to get a pixel implemented on your website. This is especially easy if your website is on Shopify. We have an app. It's a one-click installation, and then you can start tracking your visitors. Joseph, you use the Shopify integration, right?
We did, yes.
Just a one click.
Yeah, it was for the initial, just for Shopify Pixel, it was one click. Ours was a little bit more intrusive because I wanted to target each click going to exit links. But for the initial standard stuff, it was just one click, very easy to do.
All right. And then what happens after your campaign is running? On Tatari's platform on a daily basis, you can get updated results. We have standard reports that you can take a look at. In PhoLicious's case, they want to get people initially with retargeting to buy their product. So I'm assuming that you were tracking things like cost per acquisition. How much was it actually costing you to get somebody to buy your product? So that's CPA. There's a bunch of other metrics that you can track. As you moved up to brand awareness, you were probably more interested in things like how many impressions were you showing? How many people were you reaching? And that's all available on our platform. We have a very strong belief in being very transparent with our reporting. So you'll be able to see performance by channel. If you're spending on online video versus streaming versus linear, you would be able to see that in reports. We're not hiding things by combining. And you can even see the performance of each of the creatives. If you have multiple creatives, you can see how each of those are doing in case you want to shift spend to the ones that are performing better. So what are the next steps? First, you can scan this QR code to get in touch with us at Tatari. You create an account, set up the Tatari Pixel, similar to the Facebook Pixel on your website, so we can do tracking and reporting. And then you do need to make sure you have a TV ad ready. Some of our customers use the creative they already use on social media to get started. So you do need to have a creative ready. And then you can build your campaign, set your objectives, input your budget. We automate a lot of it, and you can get your campaign set up in a few minutes. That is it for the official presentation. We might want to take some questions here. What is paid mobile? Same as paid social. Paid mobile is ads that show up as you're on your phone. So it could be in mobile apps.
I just pasted the link for that QR code in case anyone doesn't have their phone handy to scan it. Tim's asking, do you recommend paying to be on a specific TV show, like running your ad during Shark Tank?
I don't know if he's talking about being a guest on a TV show or a commercial on a TV show.
He's talking about being on a show, a Roku show that costs $20K to be part of.
Yeah, we've actually been contacted by several nationwide TV shows in that same range. For us, just one appearance on one show, I would rather spend that money on TV ads and get millions of people across several different networks instead of one genre on one show. But there's some people that do it because they're in that position. But for me as a startup company, we're still considered a startup at this point. I think our budget would be utilized somewhere else. But if you think it's worth it for you, go for it.
Most of them seem hokey to me, pay to be on a show, but I don't know. I remember when Beyond was on Dr. Oz, it had a huge spike. You can see it in the Google search. A young, naive guy at a CPG company saying to my PR lead, "Oh, we should go to Dr. Oz." He's like, "Yeah, how much money do you have?" It's like hundreds of thousands of dollars. You'll meet those people at the trade shows offering their TV shows. To have your commercials on specific shows also, I think it's a good question.
I think we do specific networks. So we create creatives for specific networks, like our ad that Kevin O'Leary is in, and he's promoting it, and he's, "Ay, Chihuahua, caramba," and he's got his big Chef Wonderful hat on and going like that. We play that on Fox News because a lot of people who watch Fox News really like Kevin O'Leary. I probably wouldn't play that on CNN because people who watch CNN don't really like Kevin O'Leary. So we have other commercials that run on those networks that meet the type of viewers that tend to watch those ads. The great thing about Tatari is that they have all that data. Here's a commercial that's more towards conservatives. Here's one that's more family. Here's one that's more for the youth. And then from there, they have the data and they place it where it needs to go to perform.
Funny, because I've definitely seen that ad a bunch. And even if you don't love Kevin O'Leary, it's still a funny commercial where you're like, okay, that's hot. I had that question when I was a brand. We really are targeting this specific kind of lifestyle. Is it even possible to try to hit shows that do that? Or how much do we know about consumers who are really into this particular sport, for example? That's a Toni question.
Yeah, that would be a Toni question. Can you say, I want my commercial on Good Morning America and let it run on Good Morning America?
Good Morning America, I would love to hit all people who are coffee drinkers or who like
Those are all possible. The more specific you get, the more expensive it costs. So coffee drinkers, absolutely possible. Within the same platform that Joseph used to get set up in retargeting, we're also doing prospecting. You can also target by interest and behavior. I'm interested in fitness. I'm a coffee drinker, age and gender. If you want to get very specific and target a very specific show, that's when the costs go up.
So Mara asked, when you send in questions, you can check everyone so everyone gets to see it. But Mara said, with a small budget, how targeted would you go? Would you try to really narrow down geographically, demographically? Do you have control over the time of day that the ads run?
From a strategy perspective for retargeting, if somebody has visited your website, we typically don't recommend trying to overly control the time of day your ads will run. There are people who are interested in your product. If they happen to be watching at 2 o'clock in the morning, you get your ad in front of them. For a smaller budget, we probably would say it makes more sense to get to that sweet spot of narrowing down your audience. You're going to have chances of getting in front of the right people. We assume who's buying your product, so you can just narrow that down.
So can you elaborate and reiterate on how you were able to retarget from your website to linear for specific shows?
Okay, so the retargeting was not done on linear. The retargeting was done on streaming. The way that it works is you get your pixel, the Tatari pixel, put on your website. And because of that, we're able to collect information. We can detect all the people who visited your website, who has added your product to a cart, and even who has entered a credit card number. So the further down a customer makes it through that marketing funnel, the higher qualified they are. You can bet that if somebody has entered a credit card, they're really close to buying your product. Then what we would do is we would also collect information about who's already purchased. So typically people create an audience of people who visited the site and get rid of the people who have already purchased. Because why do you want necessarily to put ads in front of people who have already converted?
It just makes me wonder, especially with people who get really close, how many people are serving up a retargeted ad that has a discount? And how effective is that versus just like a normal ad? To try to get them over the finish line if they were so close, but all right, here's a little discount.
When I was in e-commerce, usually what I would do is the discounts I would reserve for when you're on the website.
Okay.
You can, but you would need a different creative for that. When you're targeting, you potentially run the risk that you may get in front of somebody who wasn't the person who added to cart.
Okay.
So we can do all of those things. The further down you are in the funnel, we can create a very specific audience and maybe try to pay a little bit more just to get them over the line compared to somebody who visited, was there for a little bit, and then left.
Brian asked, the 10,000 visitors number that you said is the number that you need. Is that over a specific time period, or you just need to put the pixel on and get 10,000 and that gives you a good basis to start with in whatever time period?
It is whatever time period. I would think about how long it takes for the product or service that you have. How long does it typically take for somebody to buy? If it means that usually it's a pretty quick cycle, usually we see if you go longer than 90 days, those people aren't as qualified anymore. So I would think about it in terms of how long does it take for somebody usually to convert. From our experience, usually 30 days is good. The longer you go past 90 days, that audience usually becomes a bit more stale.
Should a CPG brand have a retail distribution for this to have really good ROI, or can it work well for e-com only brands?
Oh, we work with a lot of direct to consumer e-commerce only. So
yeah,
absolutely.
I want to answer that question too, if that's okay. We shifted where we're e-commerce and then going into sort of the nationwide retail. For us, when it comes to e-commerce, the retargeting is very strong, or the streaming side was very strong of converting those sales. And then when we went into the retail, which is more of branding, getting your brand awareness out and more of a household name. So when people walk down the aisle and see it on the shelf, they know your product more. That's when we shifted into and adding the linear. We still do retargeting. We didn't stop that. We still do retargeting as well. It's just we put a higher focus on the branding aspect, and that's how we look at it. Now, there's another company we know, Boost Oxygen. I've talked to their owner. When they started doing linear, they focused on retail with their ads. It's how you're basing your creatives. They focused on e-commerce on their ads for linear. And they saw their e-commerce ad. They went from 20% of their sales to e-commerce to over 50% after running linear TV ads. It all depends on what you want to do and how you set up your creatives to set up that sale.
I could see how for that kind of a product, that could make a lot of sense. If you show them a TV ad, that counts as a couple of those because they see it moving, they see it in a cool place. So I don't know if that counts for 3 or 4 of those. But when I hear that the conversion goes way up even in store, that's how I think about it. You got a bunch of high quality seconds with somebody. Another question Jack was asking, what about pros and cons of TV ads for Amazon product listings?
I know I can answer because we also sell on Amazon. Even though we were targeting Walmart in our ads, with our retargeting, we were directing people on our where to buy page. When we were running retargeting on streaming, it said, visit phoLicious.com to find out more. People would go to our website. It would direct people on our where to buy page, and we had Amazon right there. We saw our Amazon go up as well. In conjunction with our Amazon advertising, we saw the same type of results on Walmart. Impression started going down, and we started getting more sales per impression versus we've actually turned off our Amazon ads because now everybody who's going to Amazon to get our product, they're actually going there to get it, and they're searching PhoLicious and they're going to buy it. So all the ads we were spending, like people were just clicking on them because they were at the top, but they were already going to look for it anyways. So we turned off our ads for 2 weeks and our sales stayed the exact same. So I'm like, why am I spending $300 a day on ads when I'm getting the direct thing? So I think you can pretty much use the retargeting, the linear, fit your budget and creatives to what you want. If you want people to go to Amazon, say now available on Amazon Prime, fast shipping, give that call to action to Amazon. If you want it to your website, do it to that, or run multiple ads, multiple creatives, and see which one produces better for you versus your website, Amazon, or wherever you want.
Okay, so I think we pretty much got through all the questions. I just have one more, which is, Joseph, it sounds like you really know what you're doing with these ads. Was it a lot to learn? Was it hard for you? Do you feel like there's a learning curve to really know how to tweak all the options? How easy do you think it is to grasp this stuff for people who haven't done it before?
It's a great question. Me and my wife, we're the team. We don't have a marketing team. It's just us. And it's a lot of trial and error since we started and really making each dollar count. And that comes to looking at the reporting. I check for Amazon reporting, how our ads were doing, how our sales are doing. I check our Walmart ads every day. Tatari has a great reporting dashboard where you can see how well everything is. And then you can see what works. You can see what, oh man, that did not work at all. I got to change this up. I've deleted ads after 3 weeks because I'm like, this is terrible for the amount I'm spending. Where this ad, like my Bigfoot ad, is killing it. So we did another Bigfoot ad as a mini series that picks up where Bigfoot ad 1 left off. Now it's Bigfoot ad 2. So people have seen one, now it's a new one, and they're like, oh man, what's happening now? So we're starting like a little mini drama series for TV commercials that are getting people interested in going step commercial 1 and commercial 2. See what works. You're going to do a lot of stuff that doesn't work. And you just got to keep an eye on it so you don't let it not work for too long, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's cool. Honestly, it makes me wish that I'm like, could we do an ad? That would be so cool. I think mainly I just the idea of people that we know seeing it. Do you have friends who are like, dude, I saw your ad on TV. You guys must be killing it.
And
Investors.
Sunday when they air, I get texts. Dude,
Yeah.
I just saw your TV. I just saw your ad on TV. I'm sitting at the bar and they had Fox News on and I saw your Kevin O'Leary TV. We get that a lot.
That's one of my favorite things about being part of this community, seeing all of our friends on Shark Tank. Anytime I walk by, there's a rerun playing. It's Jake from Philo Manila. That's so good. Joseph, thank you so much for coming and sharing your experience. We love when a brand can come on and help us translate some of the stuff out there so brands understand what it would be like for them to use it. Thank you. Thank you so much to the Tatari team for setting this up and giving us this walkthrough. It's very cool technology. Amazing times that we're living in, right, people? Especially because there's just so much good content out there these days. I'll be honest, I don't read books. I stopped. The TV stuff is so much better. It's just so good now. So that's the right place to reach me. And also, there are no ads in my books. All right. Thank you guys very much. Thank you to everyone for all of the questions. And we will see you guys all again soon. And I pasted one more time here the link to get in touch with Tatari. It's here on the screen, but it's also in the chat in case you would like it. And thank you, Joseph, for pasting the link to that company that does the quick ads.
I found it in my email and it's we're definitely going to be doing another round here soon.
It looks cool. I can't believe that price point, but that helps out. Thank you, everybody. See y'all soon.